AITA for leaving my girlfriend after she took a break and came back pregnant? My girlfriend and I had been solid for 2 years, and honestly, things were great. We'd met in college, both busting our humps for our degrees, amped to actually build something with our lives. I was finishing up grad school, and we were already hashing out the next chapter, moving in together, setting up a good life. I even had a ring picked out, planning to pop the question next year. I hadn't told her, but it was on my mind constantly. We talked about our future so much, I could practically see it all playing out. We'd even joke about baby names. She was stuck on Ella for a girl, and I thought Jackson had a cool ring to it for a boy. We'd get lost in these daydreams of us 10, 20 years down the line. A dog, a couple of kids, a little house somewhere nice. And I genuinely believed we were on the same wavelength with all of it. She was the one, no question. And yeah, maybe I was a little blinded by the whole thing. See, I'm a nurse, and my field is pretty dominated by women. It's just how it is. My best friend from nursing school is a woman. In fact, she was going to be my best woman at our wedding. I know that can be a sore spot for some people. So right from the jump, I made it crystal clear to my girlfriend that these friendships were strictly platonic. No drama, no weird jealousy. That was the goal. And for the longest time, she seemed cool with it. Or at least, that's what I thought. Looking back, maybe there were red flags I totally missed, but at the time, everything felt solid. We talked about everything, but then around New Year's, she started acting off. We were at a buddy's party, she'd had a few drinks, and out of nowhere, she drops that she doesn't like two of my friends, specifically. Total curveball. She'd always been fine with my crew, so hearing she had beef with them threw me. I asked her why, and she just mumbled something about having a gut feeling I'd had a thing with them before we got together. That was insane to me. I'd never given her a single reason to think that. I tried to reassure her right then and there, at the party, but she just gave me this look like she wasn't buying it. It felt bizarre, and honestly, a little insulting. Here I am, all in, planning our whole future, and suddenly she's convinced I'm lying about my friends. The next day, sober, I brought it up again. I needed to know where this was coming from because I'd always been straight with her. These two friends she suddenly distrusted were people I'd known for years. One of them, let's call her Sarah, was the first real friend I made when I moved away for nursing school. She was practically family. She helped me through some rough patches adjusting to being away from my hometown. The other, Jess, I met at my first ER gig. We pulled crazy night shifts together, swapping war stories about patience and pure exhaustion. They were both important, but strictly as friends. She sat there, listened, nodded, and eventually said she understood. Even apologized for overreacting. I figured, okay, little speed bump, we're back on track. But something in her had changed, and I was too clueless to see it. Over the next few months, things just felt off, even if I couldn't pinpoint it. She'd still laugh at my dumb jokes, still cuddle up on the couch, but there was this weird tension. She wasn't as open, and whenever I brought up future plans, her enthusiasm seemed dialed down. I tried not to read into it. Figured maybe she was stressed with work or something. But then I found out she'd been talking to this old high school friend of hers, someone she'd known forever, but who barely knew me. Apparently, they'd had some serious talks about me and those two friends she was so hung up on. And somehow, this friend managed to convince her I was lying. It sounds so ridiculous now, but man, it stung. The person I loved, the one I was building a life with, was letting some random friend plant these seeds of doubt. It all blew up one night, when she just flat out told me she didn't trust me. First time she'd ever said anything like that, and it floored me. I was pissed, but mostly, I felt betrayed. I'd done everything to make her feel secure, set clear boundaries with my friends, and still, she was accusing me of, what exactly? I didn't even know. I asked if there was anything I could do, but she just shrugged, said she didn't know if she could ever fully trust me. So, after a lot of heated back and forth, we decided to take a break. I wasn't even sure I wanted it, but it felt like the only option to get some space, let things cool down. I still thought we'd work it out, like hitting pause to clear our heads. In my mind, we'd just press play again in a few weeks, stronger than before. I really believed that. Looking back, I can't help but wonder how much I missed, how much she kept bottled up until it all came crashing down. One minute we're mapping out our lives. The next I'm questioning if any of it was real, if all those future talks were just fantasies I'd cooked up. Yeah, I thought I had it all figured out, but maybe I was just kidding myself. After we agreed to the break, I was a weird mix of hopeful and terrified. I was convinced this was just a phase, a reset button. 2 years together. This was just a rough patch, right? She had her doubts, sure, but I figured with some space, she'd realize I was telling the truth, that there was nothing shady with my friends. But it felt stupid, because as much as I tried to tell myself it'd be fine, there was this nagging feeling I couldn't shake. Something was off, even if I couldn't name it. I gave her the space she asked for, but it wasn't easy. Every day, I fought the urge to text her, call her, just see how she was doing. But I held back. Figured that's what she wanted. It was brutal. You spend 2 years with someone, and suddenly, you're not supposed to talk. It messed with my head. I'd wake up every morning hoping for a text, some sign she wanted to fix things. Nothing. Just silence. A couple of weeks in, I tried to distract myself. Threw myself into work, crammed for exams, pulled extra review sessions. Anything to keep my mind off it, even though I was already fried. My friends knew something was up, but I didn't want to talk. Just said I was fine and changed the subject. Truth was, I was a wreck. On edge constantly, wondering if she was thinking about me like I was about her. A month into this break, I started to accept the silence. Figured maybe it'd be a long one. She'd reach out when she was ready. It sucked, but I'd resigned myself to waiting, just hoping for that text, that call to see me. And then, one random Tuesday, she texted. Wanted to talk. In person. Sounded promising. I remember thinking, finally, some closure, maybe even an apology for doubting me. I ran through a million scenarios, all ending with us getting back together. But when I saw her, something in her eyes was wrong. Guilty. She could barely meet my gaze. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe she just felt bad about how things went down. I asked how she'd been, trying to keep it light. But she cut straight to the chase. I made a mistake. Just like that. And before I could even process it, she dropped the bomb. She'd slept with a coworker. Twice. Apparently, right after our break started. She kept saying it was a mistake, that she was confused, angry, hurt. But in that moment, none of it mattered. I could barely breathe. I just stared at her, dumbfounded, trying to make it make sense. The woman I'd planned my future with, the one I trusted most, had done the exact thing she'd accused me of. The irony would have been funny if it didn't gut me. She tried to justify it, saying she felt insecure, that she thought I was hiding things. Like she was trying to twist it, as if my female friends were the reason she cheated. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All those conversations, the commitment, the future we dreamed of gone. Just like that. Do you love him? I asked. Don't know why, it just came out. She looked at me, eyes wide, like she didn't expect it. Said no, it was just a mistake, happened because she was lonely and confused. Kept repeating it didn't mean anything. She didn't want to be with him. But in my head, it didn't matter anymore. She'd crossed a line. No coming back from that, for me. She kept rambling about how sorry she was, how her high school friend had practically brainwashed her into thinking I was lying, manipulating her. I just sat there, numb, her words washing over me. It was like I was in a trance. I felt like a stranger sitting across from her. The person I thought I knew was gone. Why even tell me? I asked. Why not just let the break be the end? She said she felt guilty, couldn't live with herself knowing she'd lied. Funny, she had no problem believing I was lying, but now her conscience was kicking in. We sat in silence. I think she expected me to explode, yell, something, but I had no energy. Too drained, too hurt. I just told her I needed time to process, couldn't give her an answer right then. She tried to apologize again, reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Couldn't even look at her. I just stood up and left her sitting there. Don't remember much of the drive home. Felt like everything I'd built in my head, our plans, our future, had been demolished. Kept thinking about those 2 years, all the little moments, and how easily she threw them away. For what? A couple of nights with some random guy from work? When I got home, I sat in the dark for hours, replaying it all, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. Wondered if I could have done something different, prevented it. But deep down, I knew. She made her choice. Now it was my turn to make mine. After that, I didn't reach out. She sent a couple of texts, saying she was sorry, wanted to talk. I couldn't respond. Each message was like ripping the wound open again. I didn't want her apologies. I wanted the person I thought I knew back, the future I thought we had. And now, I didn't know if any of that had even been real. After that conversation, I expected to feel something. Closure, anger, anything. But all I felt was this hollowness, like a thick fog had rolled in. My mind wasn't fully connecting. Shock, I guess. I went through the motions. Work, responsibilities, but I felt detached from everything. My body was on autopilot, but my mind was stuck, replaying every word she'd said. I kept reliving that conversation, analyzing every word, wondering if I'd missed some sign of genuine remorse, some hidden meaning. But there was nothing. Every replay felt emptier, like she'd handed me a hollowed-out apology. My friends, of course, noticed something was off. I was zoning out, not myself. But I wasn't ready to talk. I mean, how do you even start? Hey, yeah, my girlfriend slept with a coworker during our break because she thought I was lying about my friends. Saying it out loud would make it even more real. So, I kept it bottled up. Told everyone I was fine, hoping they'd drop it. Nights were the worst. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind wouldn't shut off. Thoughts just spinning. Mostly questions I'd never get answers to. Did she ever really trust me? Was she always looking for an out? Or did I somehow push her to it without realizing? I started doubting myself, even though deep down I knew this wasn't on me. I thought about texting her so many times, even knowing it was a terrible idea. I'd pick up my phone, see her name, type out a half-baked message, then delete it. I wanted answers, but I didn't want more pain. Every time I thought about asking, I'd picture her with that guy, and it was like twisting the knife all over again. Eventually, the lack of sleep caught up. I was exhausted, barely functioning at work. I'd go in, try to focus, but I was on autopilot half the time. Catch myself staring into space, lost in thought, snapping back only when someone spoke to me. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know what else to do. Trapped in this emotional fog with no way out. One day, I tried going for a run, hoping to clear my head. Used to run a lot, especially during stressful school periods. But halfway through, I just stopped, completely gassed, feeling like I'd made it worse. Chest hurt, hands shaking, thought I was going to pass out. Sat on the grass, just trying to breathe. But every time I closed my eyes, it was her. Her face, her voice saying sorry, tearing me apart. Don't know how long I sat there, but eventually, I got up and walked home. That's when I knew I needed a distraction, something to keep my mind busy. So, I buried myself even deeper in work. Picked up extra shifts, stayed late, anything to avoid that empty apartment. Even volunteered for tedious tasks like organizing files, just to numb my brain. It helped a little, but the minute I was alone, it all came rushing back. Then the panic attack started. Out of nowhere, first thing in the morning or late at night. Wake up feeling like I couldn't breathe, heart racing, hands sweating. I'd have to sit on the edge of the bed, deep breaths, just trying to regain control. The worst part was feeling like it wasn't even my life anymore. Just a shell of a person, trying to get through the day without falling apart. People kept asking if I was okay. My friends were worried, invited me out, movies, whatever, but I always said no. Couldn't stand being around anyone, let alone pretending. Didn't want to drag anyone else into my mess. So, I shut myself off, hoping the numbness would fade. Instead, it turned into this deep, aching sadness. I'd think about our memories, the trips, the laughter, those late-night talks about the future, and every memory felt tainted. Couldn't even look back at the good times without that sharp pang of betrayal. One night, after another sleepless stretch, I found myself looking through old photos. Don't know why, maybe to remember how things were. Backfired. Seeing her smiling, all those moments I thought we were happy, just reminded me of what I'd lost. Ended up deleting most of them, like that would help me forget. It didn't. By then, I knew I needed to do something, anything, to break the cycle. But I didn't know where to start. Thought about therapy, but hesitated. Felt like admitting defeat, like I couldn't handle it alone. But with each passing day, I realized maybe I couldn't handle it alone. Not without support. The worst was the loneliness. Not just being alone, but feeling like no one understood. I'd see couples, laughing, holding hands, and it was like a stab to the chest. I'd been that guy just months ago, future all planned out. Now I was this wreck who didn't even know how to get through the next hour. Looking back, she didn't just take our relationship by cheating. She took my peace of mind, my ability to trust, maybe even my sense of self. And rebuilding all that alone was harder than I ever imagined. Every day felt like a battle, just trying to stay afloat in this sea of anger and sadness. But I kept going. What else could I do? Couldn't let her completely destroy me. So that was my life, surviving one day at a time, hoping eventually the pain would fade. I hit rock bottom shortly after. The sleepless nights, feeling like a stranger in my own skin, the panic attacks, it was all piling up, this unbearable weight. I knew I needed out, but every step felt impossible, like quicksand. Days I'd look in the mirror and barely recognize myself. Exhausted, worn down, watching myself fall apart in slow motion. One of the worst moments was finding out a friend's mom had passed. She'd been really kind to me as a kid. I had to go to the funeral. Got dressed, drove to the funeral home, braced myself to see a lot of people from back home. At first, I thought I was handling it. Waiting in line, small talk with faces I hadn't seen in years. But then I walked inside, saw her family, saw the casket, and it hit me like a freight train. Out of nowhere, dizzy, vision blurring, chest tightening, another panic attack. Right there, in front of everyone. Don't know how, but I managed to get through the viewing and drive to my parents' house. By the time I walked in, I felt like I'd run a marathon. Mom was in the kitchen. I just collapsed on the couch while Dad tried to make conversation. 1 minute we're chatting. The next, I woke up in the back of an ambulance. Apparently, I'd had some kind of seizure. Dad said I was just sitting there, laughed at something, then started shaking. He thought I was kidding at first, but when I didn't stop, he freaked. I woke up confused, strapped to a gurney, a paramedic asking if I knew what day it was. Terrifying. The whole ride, all I could think was, how did I get here? How did my life turn into this? Doctors ran a bunch of tests. Everything came back normal. Sitting in that cold hospital room, numb, a neurologist explained I was likely dealing with PTSD symptoms from the breakup. Said the constant anxiety and lack of sleep probably triggered the seizure. It was strangely comforting, like, okay, this is what's wrong. But it also hit me with the reality. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay. When I finally got home, I knew I had to make changes. Done letting her live rent-free in my head. Deleted her number, unfollowed her on everything, even tossed anything that reminded me of her. Felt strangely good, like cleaning out a cluttered room. But I still had to deal with the rest of my life. All those buried feelings, those stubborn memories. So, I decided to open up. Finally, called a couple of close friends, told them everything. Talking about it made me realize how much I'd been holding in. One friend, Joe, just listened, nodding, no judgment. At the end, he said something that stuck. Letting her control my life, even from a distance, was just giving her more power. He was right. I was letting this person, who'd clearly moved on, have this hold over me while I was stuck in misery. Like I'd locked myself in a prison and thrown away the key. That conversation was the first real step. The next few weeks were still tough, but I forced myself into a routine. Get up, run, even if I didn't feel like it. Work, focus on my patients, come home exhausted. Knew I couldn't shut myself off forever, so I started reconnecting. Said yes to coffee, a walk. Each day felt a little lighter, like slowly climbing out of that dark hole. And then, one night, something clicked. Running, music blasting, mind wandering, and I realized I hadn't thought about her once all day. Sounds small, but for me, it was huge. Proof I could move on. Didn't have to stay trapped in that endless loop of pain. I could finally see a way out, even if it was just a flicker. After that, I started setting small goals. Things to look forward to, stuff I'd always wanted to do. Signed up for a local 5K, started reading again, even planned a small solo trip. It was like rediscovering who I was without her, figuring out what I liked, what made me happy, independent of anyone else. One night, I pulled out an old notebook and just started writing. Everything. The anger, the betrayal, the sleepless nights, the times I almost texted her. Let it all out, raw, unfiltered. Pages and pages later, I felt lighter, like an invisible weight lifted. Eventually, I started genuinely smiling again. Hanging out with friends, cracking jokes, actually enjoying the moment without faking it. Felt good to laugh, to be present, without her ghost hanging over everything. Little by little, I was reclaiming parts of my life I thought were gone forever. Not gonna lie, there are still days the memories creep back, a little twinge for what could have been. But they don't control me anymore. I know now I'm stronger than I thought, capable of moving on, even when it seemed impossible. I'm starting to see myself differently. Someone who went through hell but didn't let it break him. In the end, I don't even hate her. Now, if anything, I feel sorry for her. She was the one who couldn't see what we had, who chose to throw it all away. And maybe that's the biggest lesson. I deserve better. Someone who's in it for the long haul, who sees my worth, and doesn't let doubt poison everything. Yeah, I still have work to do. Not completely healed, not even close. But I'm getting there, one day at a time. For the first time in months, I can honestly say I'm okay on my own. And that feeling? Wouldn't trade it for anything. Update. Just when I thought I was finally getting a handle on things, she showed up. Out of the blue. There she was, on my doorstep, holding a baby. My mind went blank. It had been months since we'd spoken, even longer since she'd been more than a fleeting memory. I'd found peace, done the work, let go of the anger, focused on myself, and now, here she was, with the one reminder I'd fought hardest to leave behind. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me with this sad, pleading expression. Took me a second to snap back, to get past the shock. What are you doing here? First thing out of my mouth, colder than I meant, but I didn't care. She didn't have the right to just show up. Can we talk? She said, shifting the baby. I didn't know who else to turn to. I crossed my arms, blocking the doorway. Talk about what? I was done with her games, the guilt trips, the emotional wreckage. Not letting her back in just because things didn't pan out for her. She glanced down at the baby, then back at me. I thought you'd at least want to meet him, she said quietly. He's a part of you too, whether you like it or not. Low blow, and she knew it. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. No, I said, voice even. He's not. You made that choice when you got pregnant by someone else. He's his father's responsibility, not mine. She flinched. For a second, a pang of guilt. But then I remembered everything. All the nights I struggled to piece myself back together. Not letting her manipulate me into a role that wasn't mine. She sighed, shifting uncomfortably. I know I messed up, okay? And I've been paying for it every single day. But he doesn't have anyone else. Her voice cracked, a desperation in her eyes that honestly made me recoil. Where's his dad? I asked point blank. I wanted to hear her say it, admit whatever she thought she had with that guy imploded. She hesitated. Knew I'd hit a nerve. He left. She mumbled, barely audible. Didn't want anything to do with us. There it was. The cold, hard truth. She thought she could play both sides, use me as a backup if her little mistake didn't work out. And now that she was left with the pieces, she wanted me to pick them up. Anger started to rise, but I kept it steady. So, let me get this straight, I said slowly. You cheated on me, had a baby with that guy, and now that he's bailed, you want me to step in and be dad just because you're alone? Her face fell. She looked down at the baby, like hoping he'd soften me. That's not how I meant it, she whispered. But he deserves a family, a real family. And I thought we could start over for him. I almost laughed. Not funny, just the sheer audacity. Did she really think she could just show up, say a few words about starting over, and I'd forget everything? Like she didn't even get the damage she'd done. I don't think you understand, I said, voice steady. I've moved on. Spent months rebuilding after what you did. I'm not the same person. And I definitely have zero interest in pretending we're a happy family with someone who destroyed my trust. But it's different now, she insisted, voice breaking. We could be different. I know you'd be a great dad. You always talked about wanting kids, about family. Yes, I cut her off, with someone who actually respected me. Someone who wouldn't cheat, lie, then show up months later expecting me to forget it all, just because they need help. I took a step back, opening the door wider. I think it's time for you to leave. She froze, like she genuinely didn't expect a no. Please, she said, voice trembling. I don't know what else to do. I'm alone. That's not my problem, I said firmly. You made your choice. Chose him over me. Now you're dealing with the consequences. I'm not here to fix your mess. For a moment, she just stood there, tears in her eyes. I could see the pain, the regret, maybe even guilt. But I didn't let it get to me. Couldn't. I'd finally found some peace, and I wasn't letting her rip it away again. I thought you'd be different, she whispered. I thought you'd understand. I shook my head. I used to, but not anymore. I'm not your backup plan. No more guilt trips, no more manipulations. This is your life now, not mine. I'm not raising someone else's kid just because you made a mistake. She didn't say anything else. Just hugged the baby a little tighter and nodded, defeated. For a second, a twinge of compassion. Yeah, she looked miserable, hurting, but it didn't change anything. Not sacrificing my happiness to fix her mistakes. Without another word, she turned and walked away, slowly, like she was in a daze. I closed the door and stood there, staring at it, a strange mix of relief and sadness. Part of me felt for the kid. None of this was his fault. But I couldn't get dragged into a life that wasn't mine, a responsibility that didn't belong to me. Took a deep breath, leaned against the door, steadying myself. It was over. Truly over. Whatever closure I still needed, that moment provided it. I knew I'd made the right decision letting her go. I'd given myself a second chance, a clean slate, and I wasn't ruining it by falling back into her drama. She was out of my life for good, and for the first time, I was genuinely okay with that. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.